Hey everyone, my name is Alyssa DeGusto from Person-Centered Care Services, and I want to welcome you guys to our emPower Hour, where we talk with community members, people at PCCS, and so on and so forth. So today I have a couple of awesome guests. We have our very own Kevin Roman.
Hi.
Nicole Forgione.
Hi.
Jacqueline Taco.
Hi.
And Bernarda. So today, I'm going to pass the torch off to our very own Kevin Roman to discuss what our topic for today is.
Hey guys, we'll be talking today about living independently, including the programs that we run in our agency, ISS and ComHab, Community Habilitation, what those mean, and self-advocacy, living on your own as well. To go around the room, we'll start with our introductions. For myself, I'm Kevin Roman, development strategist at PCCS. Nicole?
My name is Nicole Forgione. I'm the community living specialist at PCCS.
Jackie?
My name is Jacqueline Toko. I am the director of community supports at PCCS.
Steve?
Hi, my name is Steve, and I live with ISS Apartments.
Bernarda? Oh, did we lose Bernarda?
Huh.
Bernarda?
Okay.
All right.
Well,
We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will find out about that. So.
Okay. Let's try to see how that goes. In the interim, while we try to work on that, let's get started with talking with Nicole and Jackie. Nicole, can you discuss what your position is? Hey, Bernarda, got you back
Hey,
on.
Bernarda, you want to go a little intro?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Bernarda, let's talk a little about who are you?
Hi, I'm Bernarda Rivera. I am also living with PCCS, and I am a self-advocate, board member / treasurer.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful. So we were starting with talking with Nicole Forgione. Nicole, could you tell us what your title is?
I'm a community living specialist at PCCS. So I oversee the apartments that are funded by ISS subsidies and also oversee the community habilitation staff.
Okay. When you say ISS subsidies, what does that mean? What does ISS entail exactly?
So ISS is just an acronym for Individual Supports and Services. It's a financial assistance program that helps someone to be able to afford to live on their own, just as an additional, funding for them. In that program, you're able to locate an apartment of your choice, where you want to live, what style of apartment you prefer. If you have accessibility needs, we definitely take everything into consideration. We do assist to help find the apartment for you. And, it's a great experience.
Wonderful. With something like that, you said that you, with anybody with a disability, can find their own apartment?
So yes, if you're over the age of 18, there are some guidelines and stipulations like anything else. If you're over the age of 18 and you receive services through OPWDD, we are able to then assist you to locate an apartment, but you would have to go through your care manager first for the referral process.
Okay, interesting. And Jackie, what do you do in the department?
So I do oversee our traditional ComHab programs as well as respite and ISS. So within ISS, Nicole does a lot of the hands-on work. I have to give her a lot of credit for that. But basically, we work together to see how we can improve the program, how we could support our staff, support the people that are in our program. We provide the ComHab service to them as well, just as extra supports. And basically just really seeing how we could improve our program and best support the people that are in it. And also, of course, referrals and grow.
Okay. When you say ComHab, can you talk a little bit about what that is, what that entails, and especially how it ties into ISS?
Yes. So community habilitation, we call it ComHab for short. It's a program funded by Medicaid through OPWDD. With ComHab, people are able to receive support and kind of make an easy transition to live independently. So some people have never lived on their own before, and it could be very scary. Things pop up that maybe you didn't know about. So with having our ComHab staff and support from ComHab staff, you can work on whatever specific goals that the person may want to work on. So it could be money management. Maybe this is the first time the person has any bills to pay, which is terrifying sometimes. So they can definitely work on that. And we kind of try to make it as specific as possible to the person. So if it's working on money management with paying their bills, or money management, maybe they want to go on a vacation eventually, and kind of breaking down that goal for them. So it's basically getting the one-to-one support, and having ComHab within ISS makes it an easy transition for them.
Awesome. I did want to kind of touch on a couple of acronyms that we had said already. For anybody who's not aware, anybody who's just seeing this on Facebook, first of all, thank you all for watching. Appreciate that. Definitely leave some comments and some likes and all that good stuff. But also, when we talk about OPWDD, that is the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, as well as we said, ISS stands for Individualized Subsidy
Supports and Services.
Supports and Services, pardon me. Okay, and as we said before as well, ComHab is for community habilitation.
Yeah.
Great. So we have with us Steve. Steve, you have been part of our agency for how long?
7 years.
7 years. Nice.
Wow.
Okay. So you've been living on your own for that long as well?
Yes,
Okay, great. Where were you living before that?
my family.
Okay, cool. So how did you feel? How was the transition when you finally got your own apartment? How did that feel?
The first 6 months, I really want to go back to my family's house.
Same, honestly.
I was scared at first because I didn't know what was going on. So I got used to it after that.
Okay. And did you have some help from us in terms of community rehabilitation? You had some people on the team help you out with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk a little about what they specifically were helping you out with?
Taking me, like, go shopping, meeting new peoples.
Okay, cool.
And meeting new peoples at the office as well.
Okay.
'Cause I didn't know nobody at all when I first started with the agency.
Right. Right. Awesome. And Bernarda, you want to talk a little bit? How long have you been on your own?
1 year. I started in March last year to March 8th of this year.
Okay, cool. And where, if you don't mind us asking, where were you before that?
Modest Community Services in a IRS apartment, which was a little different than being on my own. I had to share a bedroom with a roommate and another roommate.
Oh, okay. So now, where you're at right now, you're just officially on your own by yourself on your own.
Yes, and it's better off being on my own than with other roommates because it's better for me to learn things on my own and not having the staff doing it for me. And I can do things on my own because I became my own payee rep on my own, which the other agency never let me do it on my own. But then I did my bills on my own. I pay my rent, I pay my light bill, I pay my cell phone bill, and I do everything on my own. I don't ask for help, but when I do need help, there's staff that's there to help me.
Oh, it's awesome. That's awesome. So it sounds like you're pretty proud of the fact that you can do everything on your own.
Yeah.
We're proud of you too.
That's great.
That's awesome. So also you do work, you do have a staff that helps you out with things as well?
Oh, she's very excellent. She's there for me when I need her off base. When she calls me and tells me when she's not gonna come in, or we keep touch with each other on email, on phone, or texting one another. If I have any questions, like personal questions, like health wise questions, I can talk to her about it.
Cool.
That's awesome.
That's good to have that kind of support for anybody, really. I always ask, my mom or other people that I know have had the experience of like owning their own home. I'm not at the point myself that I've owned a home, but now that I'm kind of beginning to look for it, I'm hitting up people that I know that own a home for the exact same reason, to kind of get that exact guidance. So I think it goes for anybody to have that good support system to get where they need to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Nicole, we had spoken that you do more of the day-to-day specific things. So what would, I guess this is a loaded question, but what would a day like Nicole look like?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Every day is different. We face different challenges every day. So some days we're packing and relocating and helping people find the apartments that they want. Other days we have people that need assistance with making sure they have enough food, being able to provide them with the right education of where the local food pantry is. When the pandemic hit, just for an example, we had to ensure that everybody understood, maybe we can get the Meals on Wheels sent to them, or call 311, make sure that the education's really just out there. Also, another typical part of my day is, talking and discussing with I see some comments coming in. Talking and discussing with landlords, renewing leases and making sure that equal and fair housing is coming into play. And we just actually got past rent stabilized for people. There's actually a freeze now, which is a beautiful thing. So that way we can help everybody through this crisis that we're all going through, and nobody's able to kind of take advantage of anybody during this time. It goes from getting donations for clothing and furniture donations, and it's a positive, it's a really great job. It's a very rewarding, to make sure that everybody is doing okay to their best ability of what they think is okay. It's not my okay, it's their okay. So it's rewarding to see that, how happy everybody is living in their own apartment and just being able to be a part of it,
Nice. Awesome.
Nicole, I have a question for you. So with the pandemic, have you seen a change in the way that you've been operating your specific department and the way that even move-ins have been going? Has there been a big change in the way that you've been operating?
Surprisingly, there hasn't been that much of a change. We have a really great team. I have to shout out, our DSPs have been phenomenal during this time. The hardest thing is with real estate not being a part of phase 1, it's phase 2. We're able to do virtual tours to look at apartments and things like that. It hasn't been that easy because if somebody has an accessibility need, we have to make sure, can they walk over this step the right way, and making sure that they actually really love the apartment before actually agreeing to. So I would say that's one of the challenges that we have faced, and stores being closed down where we can't get furniture during this time. So if somebody has an emergency need and they need to get into an apartment, we look for donations from people until we can get what they're going to need, and they can have all the fun of shopping for all the items in their home. But I would say that was probably the biggest challenge and during COVID. Making sure landlords, I was getting panic phone calls from landlords and, oh, is my check going to stop? How are we going to do this? And I'm like, no, everything is okay. Let's all take a deep breath. We'll work through it. There's no obstacle that seems to be too big that we can't overcome together. We just have to find patience and work through this sort of together, and we'll get through it. And sure enough, here we are, we're past that March Madness, I call it.
Thank God.
It's gone, and we're rebuilding. And, if that means, taking whatever levels we have to take, to make sure that everybody is doing a good job and making sure that the people that we support are happy and they're okay and their safety and wellness is there. That's the biggest concern, is that everybody's safe, everybody's well, everybody's fed, and everybody has a roof over their head. So
Sounds great.
Yeah. And just to chime in, you know, I think Nicole's done an amazing job during this whole
you
thing.
too couldn't do without you.
We definitely
and our
work as a
team
team.
and our
Yes.
entire team. Yeah.
Our DSPs as well, we definitely can't do it without them. I remember in the beginning when this first started, you know, I reached out to Nicole and I was like, can you make sure everybody has like food and medications? And she's like, oh, I already did it. Like, here's the spreadsheet. It's already done. Don't even worry about it. I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So you know, she was definitely prepared. And the fact that a lot, like 90% of our DSPs are still, you know, supporting the people that they work with, really shows just their dedication. And, you know, if they weren't there, then we would be there. But definitely just educating the people we support on what's even going on. You know, why do we have to wear PPE and why it's so important. So it's definitely been a much easier transition than expected in the beginning. So that's been great.
So since you oversee also ComHab, Jackie, what changes have you seen as far as the traditional face-to-face supports that ComHab DSPs usually provide? What, in the midst of the pandemic, what have you seen as the changes, concerns, fears, and everything?
Well, of course, you know, there are fears from families as well as our DSPs, which is totally understandable. Some people have underlying, you know, health conditions. It was a very scary time for us. We definitely didn't expect our DSPs to go to work. You know, they definitely had the option to decide if they felt right or not. But it kind of came down to a mutual agreement between a lot of families as well as our DSPs if they felt comfortable. We do also have the telehealth option, which is great because a lot of the people that we support, you know, have that relationship with their DSP. Then it's like, well, I'm not going to see them for a couple months. You know, they're so used to routine, and then it's just like a different scenery, really. So to be able to keep that connection through telehealth has also been really great. But like I said, there hasn't been too many changes. Our DSPs are amazing.
I just want to chime in, if you guys don't mind, you know, on the ISS apartment side of things for the ComHab staff that work with the people that live in apartments. You know, it was really came down to their support system. And I feel like at PCS, we have one of the strongest support systems. You know, staff would call me. I told them, I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning and you can't sleep, you know, and you're feeling, you know, scared about going into work. Let's discuss it. Let's make sure, you know, if they need PPE, we got it to them immediately. Like whatever they needed to support them to be able to support the people that we support is what we've been kind of putting into place in our program and making sure that everybody is feeling heard, you know, and I love that. I just love that we all came together during this time. It was really great.
Yeah,
so it really seems like you guys had a good positive experience this whole time. So that's very rewarding to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely think that we can't shout out enough of the team, enough of the DSPs that have been out there. You know, we've been advocating so hard for our DSPs to be seen in the same light as doctors, nurses, and all the other frontline workers that have been out there risking themselves in this pandemic. You can't really say enough about it, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Our friend
so
Rob.
Steve, we have a question for Steve.
Yeah, Steve, what makes you want to start helping others? What made you want to start helping other people?
Well, I was like that since I was little, trying to like figure out what they want to do, for me to help them out. I just like helping out people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, kind of talking about the pandemic and everything, Steve, do you feel like how has your life kind of changed in the last couple of months? Did you feel like things have been kind of crazy, or do you think that it's been kind of a smoother transition than you expected?
It's crazy.
Yeah?
I've been going crazy in my apartment.
We all have.
Same, honestly. Bernarda as well. How have you been handling the last couple of months?
Just thinking positive,
Yeah, we
staying
have a question.
strong. just do what I'm supposed to do, like wear my PBEs, being with my boyfriend's house for a little bit, you know, we live in the same complex area, checking up on each other, you know, staying strong with each other. You know, he comes to my house, he checks up on me. I go to his house, I check up on him. It's like we go food shopping together, you know, we wear our masks, we do right things, you know, we just being there for each other is better than being nuts in the house, you know. So that's an even positive thing to do.
That's awesome. Just to add to everybody, please keep wearing your masks. I know that everybody's coming out now and the world is returning. Please keep wearing your protective equipment if necessary.
Yeah.
You know, I see people without masks out, and we don't want to have all this all over again.
No, please no.
No,
It's really hard too with the nice weather because you want to like go outside, you want to take in the sun, you want to just breathe that fresh air, and it's like, nope, I'm gonna breathe in the mask. But
you have to deal with a mask pan. This part of your face is going to be really pale in the forehead.
yeah, it's gonna be the new norm.
I was gonna say new trends.
Exactly.
A new
people are
style
really
for the
nice
mask now.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them
you match it to your outfit.
yeah, exactly.
I think that's why I'm stressed about it, because I don't have one of those cool ones that everybody else has. I want like one with a design or something, one that looks like kind of.
Ones.
I'm gonna have one that matches my whole outfit all the time. Don't worry about it. So kind of bringing it back a little, Nicole, you had spoken about speaking to landlords, and obviously a lot of your position includes working alongside the community, whether it's movers, furniture people, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about do landlords get it? Do people in our community get it? Or do you feel like it's an education piece that's really key for them?
I feel like when I first came into PCCS, the outreach that I had to do was incredible, especially it was 6 years ago. I feel like things are finally being a little bit more accepted now. That's an opinion, but when I first started everything, reaching out to landlords, I got a lot of pushback. No, we don't want programs. We don't want to work with these people, and like these, the comments that they would make. And I would say, well, these people have a name, and these people can live on their own. And, and I would talk to landlords and say, you know what, this is what our program is. This is what it looks like. Why don't you meet the person? And I had that happen with somebody, and they met the person, was like, oh my God, I love her to pieces. And she's been living in that apartment ever since. They don't want a new tenant. They absolutely love, the fact that she's flourishing, and it comes down to the education. Education is the key. I always say that. Making sure that landlords are aware of our community interactions and bringing up conversations that not everybody wants to have. People have to have difficult conversations in life, and it's all about how you go about it, and really there was a point where I was knocking on doors saying, hi, how are you? I'm Nicole Forgione. I'm from PCCS. Like, this is what we do. And when I would do that, so I got some good feedback, and then I got some people that were like, absolutely not. So the challenge was getting people to understand that this isn't your typical program. A lot of people hear program and they think, oh, I don't want Section 8 tenants. I don't want this, which is against the law. I just want to throw that out there. But,
the Americans with Disabilities Act, right?
Yes,
yes.
it is.
There you go.
So there you go, Bernarda. So, making sure that people really understand that everybody deserves equality and a chance, and again, that could be my own opinion because it's not considered a fact, because you may feel differently than I do. But truly understanding the challenges, they like the idea that there's staff in the house sometimes, so that way they feel like their home is being upkept with. And then after they see the program for like 3 months in, and I keep frequent communication with the landlords to ensure that they feel secure as a landlord and see that, we don't just throw people in apartments and walk away and whatever happens. Your home is being taken care of. The person who's living in the home more than likely takes the best care of it, and then on top of that, there's supports around the people that we support, so if, for example, I don't know, the refrigerator is not working to the full extent, we'll make sure that we talk the person through and say, okay, change the temperature. The landlord's not getting the call right away. So I think, right now where we are, I'd like to talk about some positive stuff is, landlords are really accepting of our program now. With the pandemic, of course, things have been a setback, but I'm actually to the point where I'm getting landlords calling me to help the people that we support instead of me going out there and looking wholeheartedly for the apartments like I used to, like ring doorbell to doorbell, you know?
Wow, Nicole. So that kind of sounds similar to our Disability Ally Initiative that we were talking about last week. So it kind of seems like you were doing your own, version of a real life disability ally advocacy moment there by going to these landlords and facing them and saying, hey, it's time for us to talk about those really the hard, difficult conversation. Like, let's talk the real deal here because, this is a part of life and you're wrong, so that's it's really great that you took that step and you were knocking on those doors and keep doing that. And that's something that, our Disability Ally Initiative, that's the intent there. And that's these are the people that we want to be talking to, the ones that aren't fully educated and knowing, wow, you know what, maybe there is opportunity here and people with disabilities deserve housing just as much as a person that doesn't have a disability. So that's awesome that you were doing that.
What kills me the most is like people tend to go right back to Willowbrook days, I say, and they're like, oh, how could they live there? That, they came from Willowbrook, or, I'm like, you'll be surprised,
Well, what is, to clarify,
what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What is your interpretation of Willowbrook? A lot of Staten Islanders, I would say, are, they would say, oh, there's like 60 people in one room and they don't know how to act. And, it was hard. It was heartbreaking. Like, I almost tear up talking about it because watching people's ignorance, and not really taking the time to educate yourself and understand, we're no more Willowbrook days. Willowbrook days, you didn't have the right to say what you wanted, what you were going to eat, when you were going to shower. You couldn't leave the house. You didn't have a phone call. Your family members probably weren't even able to visit, or if they did visit, it was very rare. Where we are now is a beautiful place. And we're growing and developing new strategic plans and being able, your outreach, your disability outreach, Bernarda's advocacy, like, it's a beautiful thing to really see how far people with disabilities and, regulations and rights and everything have come. And when you explain that to these landlords, they're like, oh, I didn't know they could make their own decisions. Oh, so they don't have a guardian. Oh, and there's a lot of stereotyping going on. And it's like, well, yeah, why don't you just meet the person, and don't be afraid. And then and it comes down to that, it's really getting out there and opening up about who we all are as a person.
Yeah, a component of that is speaking on, like you mentioned, Willowbrook. Willowbrook, for anybody who isn't aware, I know it's very big on Staten Island, obviously, since it was on Staten Island, but it was a state-run institution. And the defunding and the led to unfortunate circumstances of a great overpopulation, which thereby leads to a series of abusive situations, where you have staff, 50 residents to one staff, you have over 2,000 more people than could have been in the building, reaching a 2,000 more maximum occupancy. And when we talk about our history in the field, we talk about coming from institutions where you wake up at 6 a.m., no questions asked. You have to get up at 6 a.m. They had no rights to have anything to their own, to make any of their own decisions. It was seen that the state made the rules because they knew better, and to see something that was in state was only was irrelevant even in our time. This isn't something that happened 300 years ago. This is something that was closed in, if I'm not mistaken, 1980, I want to say 7. But in the 80s, this was still a relevant situation. There are people who we support that have lived in Willowbrook, and to see us now in the point where we're not only getting them in residential alternatives such as IRAs, commonly known as group homes, if you will, that are supportive of their rights, it's also where we're getting them their own apartments. You know, if they're capable of living on their own, to have their own place, that not only just their own place, but their own place in their neighborhood they like, you know, that has the things that they need around their community, you know, and having the access to those things in our community that's the same as anybody else. I need a place that has a laundromat because I don't do my laundry, you know, I need to drop that off and pick it up. So having those community
options,
support, you know, definitely are such a long way from where we came from, you know. I want to touch on it with Bernarda. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience in the community? Do you feel like, you know, your community has been supportive? Do you feel like the people in your life outside of agencies have been supportive to you?
One of them is what you said about Willowbrook. I just want to pick back a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Bernard Calabella is our founder of Willowbrook. He and my mother knew each other from one group home in Willowbrook. It was Building 6. And when I spoke to him the other month about it, he was like, I know your mother and I know you because we both share the same name. I'm with an A and he's with a D. So every time I go in his office, I say, good morning, Bernard, how you feeling? How you doing? I always tell him, thank you for what you've done for us as a self-advocate, as a person with a disability. You helped us in long ways, you know. He always tells me that he's proud of me for being on the board, for serving on the board and being the treasurer of the board. And for me living on my own, it's a little scary, but it was hard at the first when I left my mom's home when I was 25 to go into, I don't know how you say, DDSO, to move into a group home and then living in another group home and then coming to PCCS and living on my own and then talking about that I have a boyfriend who wants to move in with me, and that got a little challenging a little bit because his disability is different from mine and he was in a different program at that time, that his program is not longer there no more. And we had the discussions with his family about it, and his mom didn't see eye to eye about it. And now that I'm with somebody new now that has his own apartment, it's better that we live in the same area in Tyson's apartments where I can run across from him and he can run across from me, and we can talk about things and we can do things on our own. And we share almost the same exact and similarities of disabilities. And one day he said to me, oh, you know what? I want to move in with you, or if my apartment don't work out, then I want you to move in with me. But my self advocacy skills are the same. We see a lot of people in my office that are living together and got married and they're on the board and they're serving on the board. I have one individual, she lives upstate New York. She's going to be getting married and they're going to be moving in with each other once she leaves the board, and she's coming down to Long Island. So being on the board, you can't represent your area that you're in. You only can take your area that you're going to be moving into, which is Long Island. So in that time, I had many talks with everybody on the board when I first started. I was nervous. I was scared. I was like, should I raise my hand on this question? Should I not raise my hand? Should I say one thing? Am I doing this right? And everyone on the board supported me. You know, like PCTNs. The whole team was supporting me when I first moved in to now where I'm at now. You know, if it wasn't for Nicole, if it wasn't for Jackie or anybody in PCCS to tell me, you know what, I'm going to give you that opportunity for you to be your own payee rep. And if you're having a hard time, you know, you got your staff there. You also got us behind you. And you have like an issue with your rent. Like with me, I got scared. The first pandemic, I was like, my rent's not going to get paid. And I know Nicole got it somewhere in that office, you know, and I know she's putting it out there. But the landlord called me instead of Nicole and saying, where's Bernarda's rent? I got nervous. I thought I was going to get thrown out of my apartment.
Right.
But then Nicole said, don't you worry. I'm getting on the landlord. I'm going to let him know or her know that they can't keep calling you. Call her. So that got me a little ease. But now the landlord don't call me anymore. It calls Nicole now. So now
Yeah.
I'm like, thank God the landlord's not jumping down my throat. I know I paid my rent on time. And Nicole's there, like, texting me, I got your rent. I'm going to send it out to you right now. You're doing an excellent job. Keep it up. But self-advocacy is a part of a big house. You know, it's a part of a big team. We all do the same thing. We talk about housing. We talk about how to be on your own payee rep. We talk about diversity. We talk about grants. We talk about how to get out there to be, you know, somebody on your own. You can hire your own staff to work with you. If you don't want to have staff with you all day long, you can take another transition and coming into paying the staff of your own choosing. So that's another thing that I thought it was great to have somebody like me who lives on my own one day to move in with my boyfriend and say, look, it's not just one person now, it's two people living in one apartment, but we have the same exact, I don't know, disability and living in the same community and living in the same program as we do now. So it's a good way of self-advocacy helping us and keeping us in the wave of everything. Um, it ties into what Nicole was saying about landlords don't want us around. But when I went in to see Lisa the other day, and I told Lisa from the DHL, I said I got family members who want to move in here, and she gave me not one application, she gave me 3 applications, and she told me, guess what? You're the super duper good, excellent attendant that we got living here, and I'm so glad that you're on board, putting your own family members in here. So not just me doing the work. It was, you know, the first day that I moved in with PCCS, I did my own research of getting my own apartment by myself. You know, I looked up online. I went into this virtual thing that was called Zoom, I think it was, for housing and whatever. I picked out my own apartment. I had all my paperwork on hand. You know, I said, Nicole, this is the apartment I want. This is the area I want. I showed her how much it was. I showed her if it's a 1 bedroom. I even got all my paperwork for all my furniture together. I went to all the stores on my own and I went shopping. I went crazy shopping. But Nicole said to me, you're the first self-advocate that does everything. I don't know if I'm going to have 20 million of you guys like you. But then after that, Nicole and her team went ahead and got all my furniture that I wanted. So, you know, but that was a good thing.
Awesome. That's awesome. There's so much like that you had touched on that is just, we could unpack on this. I mean, on one hand, let's just clarify real quick a couple of things as well. When you had said, for lack of a better term, a DDSO. When we say DDSO, generally speaking, we mean state-run facility. So you were in a state-run facility, and then you went to a private agency, and then
from there, I was in a respite. I was living in a respite house for a little while. Then from there, I went. It was still with a DDSO, but I had my own. It was a group home with 2 other people upstairs, and then 4 ladies downstairs that were elderly. From there, I went into Modest Community Services and was in another group home, which is an IVR. From an IVR, I came to PCCS. From there, I stayed with PCCS, and I'm not going nowhere else.
There it is. And there it is. That's all we need. That's all we needed.
And I think I just want to take a moment for anybody who's watching as well. I think that we in the field take advantage of the fact that we know all of these acronyms and kind of how the background process works. I think it's a testament to anybody who's doing this, a self-advocate, a family member, whatever the case may be. It's extremely complicated. There's so many options. There's so much to disseminate. There's so many acronyms for everything that it's really challenging to find a good network of a team that would be able to angle you in the right direction. Maybe an ISS supported apartment maybe isn't the right case for you right now, but Nicole can lead you to a different variety of options to get you to where you need to go. I think that that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. And part of the reason why we have this show in general is to kind of not only show everybody the options. There are people that might not realize, my 25-year-old son could move on his own. That's awesome. Maybe they didn't know that. And that there's a support system involved with that lets them flourish in a way that is, for lack of a better term, person-centered, I do want to touch on, Steve, your experience as well with how you've been within the community. Do you feel like now that you live on your own, it's kind of your show. Do you feel like the community outside of the agency, do you feel like supported? Do you feel a part of your community?
What was that again? Because I couldn't hear you that good.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're part of your community, outside of the agency?
How are some ways, Steve, do you feel like you're a part of where you live? Do you feel like, do you see your neighbors and say good morning? Has a neighbor maybe ever said to you, oh, do you mind running to the store and grabbing me eggs? And, maybe later they'll give you a jug of milk for, whatever reason. Or
like the corner store guy. Do you know the corner store guy? Do you just see and say what's up,
Yeah.
Like, do you have friends in the neighborhood that you hang out with?
Well, usually not that many friends where I live at, so I used to really hang out like that or where I'm at. So it's kind of, there's just not really nobody near me or around my age. Everybody's like older, stuff like that. So.
That's fair. The last place I lived was the same exact situation. Everybody had like their own families and everything. I was just starting out. I was like, I don't know guys like that. Do you now, just to clarify, do you speak to your landlord like directly?
Sometimes.
Okay. And has he been? He's a cool guy. He's been all right. Your situation.
Yeah, he's nice and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. I think that's important to have that kind of community aspect as well. To kind of have, like I said, the landlords that really get it. In DAI, if I'm not mistaken, the Disability Ally Initiative Workshop, if you will. If I'm not mistaken, people enrolled in our ISS program or in an ISS in which the subsidy pays a part of it. If I'm not mistaken, they have longer, how do you say, they stay in apartments longer usually, right? Than other, just even who they would say is like, off the street kind of people or whatever, like any regular person. Like people in our programs tend to stay longer in their apartments, no?
They tend to do. Sometimes it's a learning curve for some people that move in. Some people realize, what, I've been to Port Richmond 96,000 times. I have family that live in Port Richmond, but you know what? My mom lives too close and she's coming over too often. So maybe I want to try to live on the other side of the island now. But everyone's shaking their heads.
My mother lives a little closer to me on Highland Boulevard. And when she came to my house, she started crying. And she said, I can't get what you kids are getting today. I had a struggle in back in the day living in Mountain Redder in a like living quarters or something. I can't say like in a home type situation. Where her parents died when she was 11, and she got thrown in a home in Mountain Redder. And she said, when I left Mountain Redder, I was 18 years old. My first apartment was here and there. She'd give me all the stories about it. And I said, Ma, it's not like me going back in your day. It's my time to tell my kids someday how I went through this and how I did it. And she was like, yeah, but you can't get more than I did. So you're lucky and you're fortunate to have all the subsidies and guidelines from the state helping you guys out, and you're a self-advocate, you're pushing good rights and everything, and you're taking my footsteps of living the Willowbrook dream into you, and you're teaching others how to become something. So in her way, it's like teaching me her ways of living, and then I get sick of looking at her sometimes, but coming to my house and telling me this is beautiful, this is bigger than my house, and I'm like, oh, you know. But then I love her to death, but she gets a little annoying sometimes. But then it could be a challenge, and you know, but I love it.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. You always want better for your children, and you want a world when you have your children to have them live even better than you did, and live in a world where the stereotypes behind somebody with a disability are no longer even there. And having somebody in your community that has a disability isn't seen as like, oh, that's, the disabled kid down on room 1A. Having them just be a part of your community. You really want that going forward with like your children and your children's children. So Nicole, and I guess Jackie too, whoever wants to go first, or explain a little more maybe. If someone was interested, if I or myself, a family member, knew somebody that could possibly qualify for an ISS or ComHab program, how would they get started on something like that?
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jackie.
I should have directed this better. Go ahead, Jackie.
I know we do this all the time. So they would have to have a care manager. If they don't already, but they may be eligible for services, we can refer them to the care management companies and see if we could get them in. But generally, if they already have a care manager, there are some documents we request from the care manager, such as evaluations, any medications the person may be on, if there's any prior release.
So just to make this as super basic as possible, so I'm going to Google care manager Staten Island, and then several companies will come up, and then go ahead.
To chime in, so if you're a brand new person starting out and you've had a disability of onset before the age of 22, you can then access what's called the front door, which you can go to the OPWDD website and type in front door or reach out to a local agency, and we'll be able to provide you with the number to go start the process. So you would go there, and then you would kind of attend this, I think it's about a 4-hour course or something, I don't know. You would sit in there, you'd see all your different options, and then they would provide you with different CCOs that you have your choice to pick from. Whatever CCO you choose to pick, then you'll be provided with a care manager, who then the care manager would ask you what services you're interested in. And then you would explain if you're interested in an apartment, if you're interested in ComHab, respite, there's so many different things, day habs.
Just to touch, we keep saying respite. What is respite exactly?
Jackie, I'll turn that over to you.
Respite is basically giving relief to the caregiver. So if mom or dad goes shopping, food shopping once a week, we could provide staff to basically just give relief to the caregiver if that's what's needed.
Okay, great. Just wanted to explain on that. Go ahead.
So then after all of that, you reach out to your care manager, you're assigned a care manager, you can let your care manager know what agency, or we say vendor, is your choice of where you would like your subsidy to be held at, or where you would like your ComHab to be held at. Again, you don't need to have PCCS for both, even though we would love to have you for both. You can choose another agency on Staten Island for your subsidy and have only ComHab through us, vice versa. So it is a lengthy process, I would say, but it's all well worth it in the end. There's so many great opportunities to be in a part of these programs, and making sure that, longevity wise, you're okay, you're set up, Yeah.
And there are, a couple things within our agency. So if you had already had a care manager, within our agency, we do have them attend an informational session where they can learn more about what ISS even is. Nicole does the informational sessions. Now we are doing them virtually. So we have been doing that. The person is also required to fill out a self-assessment that addresses, health, safety, money management skills. And then PCCS also does our own assessment. So in order to be enrolled in ISS, there are a number of steps that come first. I wanted to touch base also, if based upon the assessment that is done, it is determined that maybe you're not ready to live independently right now in your own apartment, it doesn't necessarily cut you out from being in your own apartment in the future. So we do offer ComHab. So let's say you're denied after the assessment, there's recommendations to work on. Maybe it's money management or learning about what a lease is. Those recommendations can be worked on with your ComHab staff, supporting you to work on those. And then in 3 to 6 months, you can reapply again, and we could reassess you that way. So it's not like a total done deal either.
I just want to add, if you are interested, we have what's called an ISS mailbox. It's where you'll be able to reach out to the team and say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about this or anything. So it's ISS@pccsny.org. So feel free to definitely reach out to us if you have any further questions or you're just looking for some direction. And thank you for putting that in. And we're definitely around to answer any other further questions.
Awesome, guys. I guess Bernarda, do you want to where? So you had mentioned you were part of a board just before we end up wrapping up. What's the next step for you guys? Where can we find you next? What's Bernarda going to be up to now?
Well, I go to meetings 3 times a year with the board. I just became the treasurer as of this year on the board.
And the board for where?
For self advocacy. I'm gonna be on another year on the board. You can run twice, and then you have to step down for a year, and then reapply again for another year to be on the board again. When I got on the board, like I was saying, I got a little nervous and scared, and they asked me to do the whole Staten Island. That's my region that I take care of. Also, I run groups and everything, leadership, Staten Island leadership, regional meetings at PCCS, at the program. A lot of the individuals that know me already on Staten Island, they come up to me, they're like, wow, can I get on the board? How do I become a self-advocate? What should I do? How do I become one? What's the steps for me to do it? And I keep telling them that it's also based on the title that we have is speaking up for yourself and others. That's our motto and our mission statement of our company, that we help ourselves. But if others can't do it for themselves, that can't talk on their own, they can't do it for themselves, we step in and we say, listen, we are self-advocates on the board. We help you as much as we help the families that we serve. It's based on state, the abbreviations is SANYS.org. You can go on it, look on the website, see what my region does, how I became a board member, what I do on the board. There's a little title, little thing about me on the board, and everybody else around the region. We got 19 people on the board. We just got Westchester region on the board. We met that person. She's a wonderful person. It's based on everybody who has a disability, steps up, runs on the board. And when I got chosen doing it, I was like, me, of all people, I got on the board. I am so thrilled. I called my mother. I called my boyfriend. I called my aunts, my uncles in Puerto Rico. I told everybody. And they were like, awesome. You know what? I am so proud of you. You became from being a shy person to a big mouth now. And now we can't shut you up for nothing. And you let us know all the resources and information out there, how to get on the board. Like, I had somebody call me up the other day, Luis Ortiz, and he asked me, how can I get on these meetings? How can I become a board member? I do the same thing you do. I go out there, I speak up, and I do rallies, and I do this. And I said, well, now you got my number, and you got everybody's number, so we can work together as a team. But running the show as a board member, doing it on my own for my region, I'm proud to do it. I hope I take another year of it. I I don't know how to say, like, I'm the only one on the board that travels everywhere. Everybody's scared to travel. I'm also a PC. What is it? I do things with open doors. I help out with them sometimes with the open door process because I am like I'm a PPC something with open door transitional specialist for another company with self advocacy. So I was doing that for 4 years, and the program stopped. So it got me a little sad because I like doing it. I like meeting other people from DDSOs and helping them out and letting people know you're not alone. You're here. I have this qualifications. I can tell you a little bit about myself. I can run down a whole list about me, but being a self advocate is what it's all about to be. And for everybody today, putting me on today to let everyone know in the community that you're not alone as a person with a disability. You can live on your own. You can be on your own. You can get married one day. You can have a family on your own. You can live with someone. Don't be afraid to open up those doors and tell your parents, look, Ma, she did it. She's getting married. She's living on her own. She got children. I want to be where she's at today. So it's not that hard. It could be hard at first getting a CCO or managed coordinator, but when I did it, I went through the front door. I picked out a great person, Maria Pepitone. She's the best. I can call for anything, day and night, and without her putting me where I'm at today, I don't know. I can be stuck in a group home until I'm 90 or whatever, but it was a good thing for me. So I'm glad to be on this podcast today. So
we're really happy to have you, Bernarda. Thank you so much for everything that you've been telling us. And I really think that we could probably have you come back. We could do an entire segment just strictly on self-advocacy.
You'll be back. Don't worry. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely think so. But
reach out to me. I'm good.
Yeah, you're going to be our first call.
My friend Steve, we will see you with our Disability Ally Initiative, right? You're going to help us out?
Well, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, Steve, before we log off here, do you want to talk a little bit about what you do with the Disability Ally Initiative, what your role is?
And mostly helping out the staff, talking about what it's about. After for this, meeting with people.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so Steve, really,
Steve, where do you see yourself, let's say, in a couple of years from now? Do you see yourself in a new apartment? Do you see yourself in a 2-bedroom? Do you see yourself with a family, without a family?
Probably with a 2-bedroom family. Probably like 2 kids, maybe.
I hear that, man.
Awesome. Well, now that we're down to our last minute. So I want to personally thank you guys for joining us today. So thank you, Nicole, Jackie, Steve, and Bernarda. You guys really made the conversation very exciting, and I think we were very informative as well. So I definitely think
the beginning of all of this. There's so much to unpack, but thank you guys so much for it, and thank you to all of our cool cats and kittens that were watching.
I definitely think we will have you guys
to reach out to us. We're always here for you guys.
Yes, I'm going to put the email address back on the screen. So everybody that is interested in getting more information, please reach out to iss@pccsny.org. And I want to thank everyone that has joined us today, all of our viewers, for taking your lunch break with us for our emPower Hour. And we will see you all next week with a couple of new faces. So stay tuned.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.